All right, well, welcome everybody. This is Barney Quincy, and I am here in support with Tom. I guess you could say we're unofficially partners in crime now. This whole thing started from a couple weeks back, where actually a couple years back, Tom and I talked about doing this. He told me with the Master Cleanse. He's been presenting for the summit for many, many years. I'm going to presume most of you know what the YL Success Summit is and what it's all about. Basically just an online educational event dedicated to other Young Living members. And so I'm going to presume most of you know what that whole thing is about, and that you know Young Living. And if not, totally cool. And but what we're doing right now is Tom, the author who's on here with us, of course, is the author of the Complete Master Cleanse. And Tom's going to tell you just a little bit of a brief story. Some of you might have caught it on the Facebook Live that we were on just the other day, but some of you might not have. And I think that it's important just for context to really appreciate the big picture of the power of this work and its impact, that whether you know it or not, it already has had on your life indirectly through its impact that it's had on Gary Young. And for those of us who know who Gary Young is and his work that he's done with the Young Living, it's already impacted us. So Tom, welcome and thank you. And before you jump in, Tom, I was just going to say, guys, the purpose of this call is to really just give you, kind of like a smaller venue, so to speak, a little bit more private, intimate setting to be able to ask Tom questions, because we did the Facebook Live. There was a couple hundred people on, kind of coming and going on live, and it's awesome, it's fun, but then the comments are flying and we can't always keep up with the comments and answer the questions. And I don't really ever think that people get really upset, but I just kind of sense that it's frustrating for Tom and I. We're like, we want to answer the questions, but there's only so much time, right? So this is your chance to ask Tom. You can come on and ask with your voice. And you can unmute yourself, or you can actually just, put it in the chat box, and then Tom can answer your questions. And Tom, so I'll let you jump in now and tell your story.
Okay, real quick. It was back in 1979, I was introduced to the Master Cleanse, and I was a complete skeptic. I didn't have any belief or expectation that something so simple, so easy would have any impact, especially on my health, and except in a negative way. And when finally, after a series of sort of circumstances that happened, I felt it would be safe for me to go on the Master Cleanse, to prove to my roommate that it wouldn't work. And I did the cleanse for 10 days, and it quite literally changed my life. It was about 8 months later that the man who taught me this work came to the city I was living and taught me all of Stanley Burroughs' work, where I then had a full sort of understanding of how and why the Master Cleanse works. Why you can do the cleanse for 10 days and see leukemia go away, which I've seen. People going to a cancer clinic, and on the 10th day, their leukemia is gone. Wayne Dyer was somebody who I was treating. He was dying when I met him, and he did the cleanse for 20 days, and his leukemia was gone. But Gary Young, who I want to talk about as well, Gary Young, the man who started Young Living, many people think that he had healed themselves using essential oils. Well, that's really not the case. It was, I think, February the 6th, possibly my clients here, possibly February the 3rd or the 6th, 1973. And Gary was living in British Columbia, where I live, and he was at a homestead, and he had a logging operation, and he was logging, and a tree fell back. It was expected to fall one direction, and it went the other way, and it fell and struck Gary Young. His spinal cord was ruptured in 3 places. The back of his skull was crushed. He was temporarily blind, went into a coma. His right shoulder blade was shattered into 9 pieces. Every vertebrae or disc was crushed or damaged. Every rib on the right side of his spine was broken as if a meat cleaver went through. His pelvis was broken. He wasn't expected to live the day. Well, he did, but he was paralyzed. And depressed with his new state of health, or lack of it, he tried to commit suicide a couple of times and failed. So he figured out a way had this plan, and somebody told him about the Master Cleanse. So the master cleanse is maple syrup, lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and water. And he figured, oh, I could do that and pretend I'm going to try and heal myself. But if I stay on it long enough, I'll starve to death. So he went on the master cleanse for 256 consecutive days and got up and walked away from his wheelchair. And, you know, I worked with Gary and spent a lot of time around him. And I remember him saying that he went to his doctors and said, I want you to check out my body. You know what my body was like before and now what's going on. And they went through his body and said, there's not a trace of scar tissue anywhere. All of the scar tissue had completely gone away, and his body had healed itself and put it back together, in a sense, in its natural state. And so that was, I think, 2.5 years later. This is about 1975 or 76 that he did this. And then from there, he went to Stanley Burroughs and took a training with Stanley to learn this work. And in fact, just a couple of weeks ago, this doctor called me, and because I sell color lamps, and he wanted a new set of filters. And we got talking, and he said, you know, I took a training in 1979 or 1980 with Stanley Burroughs, and there was this man there, and Stanley Burroughs introduced this man as having done a couple of 100 days on the master cleanse. And he says, I'm fairly certain that was Gary Young, you know. And he said, I had this intuitive impression of him. And I went up to Gary and I said, you know, Gary, I believe that you're going to go really far in this field. And Gary just put up his hand and said, don't want to hear it. And so Gary, at the very beginning, had no idea that you know, he was just wanted to learn some of this stuff, and that it was going to become his life's work. Like some of us, myself, I would have never guessed that going on the master cleanse 40 years later, I would still be doing it and telling people about it. So without the master cleanse, there would be no Young Living. Gary might still be in a wheelchair or have killed himself long before this. So this program is extremely simple, inexpensive, and accessible to anybody and everybody. And so why wouldn't you want to do it? Well, you may have, you know, unconsciously, you may not want to get well. It not may be your design at that time that you even think you deserve to get well or even want to be well. One of my, somebody I know here lives here in the city, and he said he was treating this man who had cancer, and I'm treating, but he's not getting better. And he's, you know, and he said, so I did muscle testing. So he muscle tested him, but asked him whether he wanted to live or not. And this man tested no. He said, you don't want to live. He said, well, why are you living? And he said, well, my children and my wife, they want me to live. But he said, you know, I'm ready to move on. And this friend, or this person I know, he just said, I give you permission to die. And he literally, you know, left the session, drove 2 blocks down the street, pulled over to the side, and passed away. He died there, you know. And so, you know, sometimes you've got to kind of figure out, where are people, you know, do they want to live or do they want to die? And with the master cleanse, I've had people who've literally been sent home to die, given a week to live. I've had people with liver failure, cancer, heart disease. They go on the cleanse, and years later, they're still alive. In fact, one of my clients she had 4th-stage colon cancer, lives in Spain. I went to Spain to treat her 16 years later, and she's still completely and totally cancer-free. Mind you, she did about 180 or 90 days of the master cleanse in that first year she had her, you know, she was diagnosed. But on the other hand, I went to Spain to Australia about 6 years ago, and was treating a man 35 years of age, and he had liver failure, and they said, you're going to die. There's nothing you could do. And I told his mother it was going to take 40 to maybe 60 days of cleansing. And I went to Australia, I was in Perth, and flew there and treated him. And it's 6 years later, he's still alive. And he just did the cleanse once. I was working with a lot of oils, using oils on him, and he was doing the master cleanse and using the color therapy. And so even myself with this work, I am surprised and shocked what it could do. Like, if some of you don't know Barney, if you Barney's a new man. He's really come along. I mean, one of my friends, he was like 19 years old, and this was in Georgia, in the Atlanta area, and I hadn't seen him for a year, and came back to visit the family, and he was Afro-American, and he had his shirt off. We were outside playing basketball, and and I went, Robert, what have you done? And he said, Mr. Tom, he said, I did the master cleanse for 28 days. I gained 8 pounds of muscle. And he was like, like he was pumped. And he had a black belt in ninjutsu, and he worked with the Delta Airlines employees in teaching them, self-defense and stuff, especially after the 9/11 thing. And I dedicated my second book to him because between the writing of my first and second books, he was in a motorcycle accident and died, which was rather unfortunate because he was just a star example of somebody going on the cleanse, like an 18-year-old gaining 8 pounds. So it's not just a weight loss, or as I like to describe it, as a waist loss program. Like many of the testimonials, I'm really happy about these people. Instead of saying they've lost weight, they said I've lost waist. And because it's not just fat melting off, it's what's passing out of your body. There's a third book my name is on. I haven't written it, but they've taken 10 pages from my first book so they could put my name in as the author. But it's about 12 people's experience doing the master cleanse. And this one woman who I referred to the publisher, she was doing IVF, and because she was trying to get pregnant, and it wasn't working. And she phoned me to tell me her story. And she said, I got your book, and I told my doctor, I said, I'm going on the master cleanse. I want to do something different because this isn't working. And her doctor said, no, that's dangerous. You don't want to do that. She said, I'm doing it. So she said, I go on the cleanse, I do it for 10 days. And within 2 weeks, she got pregnant. She said, the first child I miscarried, I got pregnant again shortly after and carried it full term. I went, wow. I said, because I've worked with several women who are considered to be sterile, and within 2 weeks of cleansing and me working with them, they've gotten pregnant and carried their child full term. This woman said, we were talking, and so when you're on the cleanse, your body eliminates waste. And so she said, Tom, I just, not to gross you out, she said, I passed several pounds of mucus. And I go, big deal. I said, I lost 9 pounds on the cleanse the first time, and about 4 to 5 pounds of that was just slimy, dark mucus, and who knows what else was in there. It was pretty disgusting. It was very revealing. You think you're healthy and you go, what is that coming out of my body? And you go onto our page, somebody got freaked out last night because they saw all the parasites and stuff that were coming out of people's bodies, and she was quite disturbed. I had to phone her up and talk to her for a half an hour and just say, this is what you're looking for you want this out. If you can show it in the toilet, it's out, not in. So anyways, this woman says to me, Tom, it didn't come from my rectum. And I'm kind of, what? And of course, from a man's perspective, I don't think this way. And she goes, Tom, from my vagina. I went, what? She goes, I passed probably 3 or 4 pounds of mucus from my vagina. I went, oh yeah, okay, sure, because your cervix, well, your uterus produces mucus through your cycle, and you produce two types of mucus: sticky mucus, which blocks sperm from traveling up into the uterus, and slippery mucus, which you have running for about 2 days, which the sperm can travel along to go up into your uterus and impregnate you. So here she was, she dumped all this mucus, and she said pounds of it, and got pregnant after that. You know what her doctor said? She said, my doctor said you would have never gotten pregnant had you not done the master cleanse. I went, yeah, that's probably the case, because I'd seen it several times. And in fact, my first wife had cervical cancer. She had a tumor, and they wanted to do a hysterectomy like when she went to see the gynecologist, he was like, we got to do a hysterectomy either tomorrow or the next day. I was not, I refused to go. I wasn't even going to go to I told her not to go to the doctor. She went to the doctor, and he, of course, put the fear of God into her about, we got to do this. And she went on the master cleanse, used color therapy, and I did work with her doing Vitaflex, and she worked on using Louise Hay's work on the emotional issues. We had 2 babies, 11 months apart. So my oldest is going to be 38 this year, and not my youngest, but the younger one is going to be 37. I have also one turning 6 next month and one that turned 3 last month. So I have a 38, 37, and one being 6 and one turning 3. So I got as 4, just like Barney, but Barney's kids are about not even 6 years apart, and mine are 35 years apart or so. Yes, Barney.
Yes, that's true. You're like Gary Young, having 2 rounds. But yeah, so questions wise, which is really good, and for those of you who decide that you want to jump in, the stories are great. And the one lady, I think, that was in the group that saw those pictures, that totally freaked her out. And didn't she report some of the pictures?
Yes, she did. Yes.
Yeah. So what we're going to get into it later, but there is going to be conversations about parasites and mind control. And I can tell you, without the scientific proof, but there's a book that goes into all this. Tom has lots of, which we won't go into it now, but I will just tell you that those little creatures that are living inside of you have much more power and control over you than you think, or than I thought, to give it credit. So I don't want to freak too many people out. So the questions, Tom, there's a couple that are posted.
Okay.
And for time's sakes, let's do, and then I know Peggy wanted to come on and ask, but let's, so Jennifer's asking, hello, Jennifer, nice to see you on here.
Hey.
So I had a question, and it's one that I asked the other day. So she's highly allergic to cayenne pepper and lemons. I would like to elaborate if possible, because she had posted that. We'll just let you, why don't you just jump in, Jennifer?
Yeah, so I'm super excited to do this cleanse, but I've been putting it off for probably 8 to 10 years, because the one time I did a cleanse with just some supplements from my chiropractor, and they said, just take the supplements in the morning, in the afternoon, drink water, and eat one meal in the evening, like fish, salad, something like that. So throughout the day, I was drinking water with cayenne pepper in it because I love the taste of it, and it just was very satisfying. But my migraines were staying consistent every single day for at least 5 or 6 days. And I just quit the whole thing because I was like, this is crazy. My migraines are getting really bad. And I think
Jennifer, can I say something?
Yeah.
That's right. That was absolutely crazy. That is not a cleanse. You cannot cleanse your body taking supplements or eating. You have to stop ingesting food. Can you run and walk at the same time?
No.
No. You cannot cleanse and be in a digestive process at the same time. You have to do one or the other.
Okay.
When you're on the master cleanse, you don't take supplements. If you talk to Stanley Burroughs, I've had people who've said, I will die if I stop my medication, and they've gone on off their medication and lived without needing their medication. One man, in fact, he went off his medication and he told me he would die if he was going to stop. And I suggested he get a color lamp, and he had to get his blood tested every week to check for an enzyme count for his liver. And every time he went for a test, they would say, increase your dosage of your medication. Well, he called me after a few weeks of me seeing him. He was in another city, and he phoned me up and he said, I got a call from my doctor, like they always tell me to increase my medication by the time I get home. It's on his answering machine. And there was this urgent message to reduce his medication. And he said, I'm not on my medication. And I went, oh? Yeah, I haven't been on it for a week. I went, oh? He said, I'm on the master cleanse. I went, oh. He did 40 days of the master. He had hepatitis, and he had 40 days in a row on the master cleanse, completely gone, completely healed. So, I think I may have mentioned you. I've had several people who are allergic or intolerant to cayenne or lemon. And the problem is that lemon and cayenne are cleansing or detoxifying foods. when you take them in conjunction with food, you're trying to run and walk at the same time. I don't know if I talked about this last night, but this one woman, I thought I brought this up. She asked me, she says, Tom, I go into anaphylactic shock if I have citrus. What do I do? You know what I said? Go on the master cleanse. She kind of looked, I said, however, there's one rule. You can't cheat one iota. You can't have a scrap of food, nothing. You just have to go exclusively on the master cleanse. When I came back to, this was in New Jersey, I came back it was almost a year later, and she introduced me to the audience. It was a Young Living audience. And she said, last time Tom was here, we were out eating Mexican food and with Jeffrey and Gail Ann, that's her, people she worked for. And Jeffrey's a Crown Diamond, maybe, I don't know if he's not a Royal Crown Diamond in Young Living. And so she said, normally he would introduce me to the audience, and she insisted that she introduced me. So she said, last time, Tom was here, I told him I go into anaphylactic shock. And he said, just go on the master cleanse. And of course, that sounds like this man is insane. She said, I eat a half a grapefruit every morning for breakfast now. She did the master cleanse, did it for 10 days, and her so-called allergies went away. So allergies are not what are you allergic to in the work that I do, it's who. Who are you allergic to? It's a person or people, someone you're allergic to. And the food is just an indicator on a physical level that you've got an emotional issue. Now, you taking these supplements, and who knows what they are and what they were doing, and then drinking water, there was never any cleansing diets before the master cleanse, like the lemonade diet. It's the granddaddy of them all. And now everybody's got a cleansing diet, a cleansing program. And you know what? Truly, not one of them work. Not one. Like on the master cleanse, typically it takes 10 days to heal any kind of leukemia. You find one other cleansing diet that'll do that, then I'll go, okay, then there is. I haven't seen anything that comes remotely close to that. I had a man who came to me and said, I've done 25 different cleansing diets, but never done the master cleanse. I said, you've never done a cleanse. I said, this is the only cleanse. He went on the cleanse, did it for 10 days, came back to my home to talk to me, and he said, I will never do another cleanse again unless it's the master cleanse. It's the simplest, the most effective, and I've never felt better on a program, on a diet. Not a cleanse, on a diet.
Well, while I understand all of that, and that's great. I mean, I'm totally willing to do this and cut out all the food. I mean, I'm not going to cheat or even, pick or anything. But I'm just really concerned for a couple things. One, because my migraines didn't go away for those 5 days, and normally if I'm doing any kind of cleanse at all, they're really intense the first like 2 days, and then they kind of ease up as I'm going along. But these were really bad continuously, number one. Number two, I've been doing a couple researches like on what people have said when it comes to migraines. And there was one woman that said she was highly allergic to cayenne pepper, and she said she kept going on the master cleanse. I think by the 8th day, she had to go to the hospital because I don't mean to scare anybody. I don't mean to do that. But
okay,
I'm just
Jennifer, you know how many thousands of people I've talked to who say they've done the master cleanse, and not one of them have done the master cleanse. They might have drank lemonade. They might have put maple syrup in something. They might have. The reason I wrote my book is 50 to 75% of the people I talk to who've done the master cleanse have not done it. They think they've done it, but they have not done it. You think you're the first person I've worked with migraines?
Yeah.
I've worked with dozens. And here's what happens. They usually get a migraine the first or second day. I would treat them, and then their migraines are gone. You are talking about people who, I don't know what she did. People will say they did the master cleanse. When I took my training in 1980, my teacher said to me, of every single person that he heard that said the master cleanse didn't work or was a problem, he said, every time I investigated, they didn't do the master cleanse. They did what they thought was the master cleanse. but they added things, they subtracted things, they didn't drink it fresh, they didn't take a laxative, they didn't drink enough. They did sometimes 5 or 6 things that are not the master cleanse, and yet they go, I was on the master cleanse. I did the master cleanse to prove it would not work. But the thing was, I did it right. I did it right. It changed my life. And my teacher took the training from Stanley Burroughs to prove he was a fraud. He did 60 days in a row. He lost 60 pounds. He passed a tumor. His allergies went away. His back problem cleared up, and he was running 10 miles a day. One of my friends put her grandchild on, a 4-month-old child, for 10 days. I met a woman who put her 3- and 5-year-old on for 21 days. The oldest person I've had do it is 94 years of age. The longest is 372 days in a row. I've had pregnant women, nursing women, terminally ill people with IBS, with heart disease, with like just about anything and everything. The key, though, is you've got to do this properly. And it's not to say that people don't sometimes have a crisis while on the cleanse. Like, because you have migraines, I wouldn't be surprised that the first or second day. Now, I've been working with people, and Barney can qualify this. There are people who have been, there was a woman who, she was in the Oklahoma bomb blast, and I don't know, we've got her on a testimonial. She has been in chronic pain for 25 years. She goes on the cleanse for 4 days and she's got pain. You know what I did? I treated her long distance. I did VitaFlex over the internet, like right now, like we're talking. The next day, her pain completely stopped and has not come back. There was another woman who I didn't treat. She had chronic pain. She says, like, only 5 days out of the month does she usually not have pain. And on the 4th day, she had a a rather frightening, horrifically smelling bowel movement. And the next day, all of her pain and everything just melted away. It was just gone. So comparing the master cleanse to any of these things that you've done or what people have said they have done is really not accurate. And I would challenge you and say, prove me wrong. I tell people, you don't have to believe me. Trust me enough to just do the diet correctly. Don't modify it, go, well, I have this special condition and I have to take this medication, or I have to take this supplement, or I can't take the cayenne, or, you know, all of these things. And like Stanley Burroughs, the man who created this, I mean, he would say, when in doubt, follow the instructions. And that is where you have to drink your lemonade fresh. You can't pre-mix a gallon. And that's what people do. They drink a gallon over a day or two. They take supplements. They don't take a laxative, or they take it for a day or two and go, I don't need this. Or the laxative they don't take it properly. It doesn't work. They starve themselves. I'm on a bit of a rant here, you know, because I've been doing this for 40 years. And we're going into our 3rd group, and Barney would say, like, there's all these people, and many of them had done it in the past, but the cleanse that they experienced in our group, they said, has been pretty much all of them, wouldn't you say, Barney, have been unmatched to how much more effective it was, partly in that them just understanding the program better, the how and why it works. And with that comes a state of mind which you become more confident, because it's, to me, a state of fear is going to create problems. Like, if you're going to go into this program expecting the worst, don't even bother. Just run. It will be hell. But I've had people who are dying. They've been given a week to live, and they go, nobody will come near me. Nobody wants to help me. But you, I go, well, it'll work. That's why I trust this. I've seen it over and over. And people will trust what I have to say enough, because nobody else has got a solution. And I've never healed anybody. Please don't think I have any miraculous abilities. No, I just have knowledge and information that I've been using successfully for year after year after year. And it's all simple stuff. It's just putting it all together in a way that it's going to work for you. I do a lot of work around the mental and emotional. Like, you have migraines. You know what causes migraines? A strong belief in, or just hating to be driven, just like I'm talking to you, like go on the cleanse. It's like somebody taking their finger and poking you in the rib. That's one of the things that causes migraines. And so when I work with people, I find out who's the person that's got their finger in their rib and pushing them and driving them. And sometimes it's themselves. And so I then give them an affirmation. Young Living has an oil called Migraine. I actually very, very, very rarely use it. In color therapy, the color purple is the color you use for pain. I've had people come into my office and within 2 minutes, their migraine is gone. Now, how Barney met me is that he had a headache for how many days, Barney?
Well, it was at Winter Harvest. We originally met on the bus on the way from Spokane to Harvest, and then I had a headache from drinking too much coffee and alcohol before, and then high altitude's not a good mix. And I'm like, oh, whatever, it'll be fine. Just go jump in the hot tub. And it wasn't, but, and I literally used almost an entire bottle of peppermint. And then Tom came up and did some VitaFlex on my arm. And it went like, it was like in 1 or 2 minutes. And I've been, my background in a nutshell, I've been in holistic health myself for 18 years, own gyms, and have a lot of skill and development in corrective exercise, stretching, strength training, body work. And I was like, wow, that really got my attention. So it is pretty cool, the headache side of it. But I think from a migraine perspective, for sure, Tom, while I'm talking, can I just add this to 2 parts? Because that was really good. And I just want to make sure we can also get to some of these other questions. Jennifer, if I can ask, does that help answer your question? Because I think the core of the foundation of your concern is there's a party that's a little bit hesitant, which rightfully so from the past. If you smelled something, you have that remembrance of, you took the cayenne pepper and it triggered that migraine and you don't want to have it come back. But do you feel a little bit more clear on the answer there?
I feel like, yeah, he's basically telling me just shut up and do it, which I don't have a problem doing that. I am dying to do this. I don't want to wait another.
Whoa. Jennifer,
you cut me off all the time.
Don't die to do this. So the woman.
Oh, I know the words. I am so excited to do this.
Okay. So I didn't get into the story that got blown up in Oklahoma. Do you know what she said in her testimonial, or talking to me directly like this? She said that this blows me away. That's what she said. And I went, stop. And here she was in a bomb blast and blown away. So I don't want you to die to do this.
Okay.
I want you to, because your words, like my brother was complaining to his ex-girlfriend about stuff in life. And he said, some days I will feel like I want to die. Within 1 week, he died. And he just said, some days I feel like I just want to die. And that was it. And I will tell stories like this of people I have met and worked with and what happens by what they say. So when I work with people, it's not just drinking lemonade, but I listen to everything they say and I feed it back to them. And then what is the impact of what you just said and how you feel? So, so I tell people, if you've got hemorrhoids, hemorrhoids are, worrying about deadlines, but it can be, people might say something like that's a pain in the ass. And they do, so you got to be careful about what you say. But so anyways, I wanted to get to a question here real quick, just for somebody else here, which was...
Sorry, I was just going to say for Jennifer that while we're on this topic, so if Jennifer's good, this one is actually really good. I want it because I saw it come up and we're going to go back up to the top. So she's saying, do you suggest for someone like my husband that works in the construction and can't do the cleanse when out in the field? What do you suggest as far as that goes? I'd like to, if I can, Tom, just share this because my dad, I literally just went out to the field. My dad's a farmer. He's 64, going to be 65. He can out-train most people half his age in the gym. His work stamina has been amazing, probably because he's had an amazing trainer for the last 15 years. But to give him credit, I learned my work ethic from my dad. And anyways, and so he was concerned, not really. He's like, well, I'm fine. My mom wanted to do it. He went along and did it. And he's out in the field, like planting. He's been out in the field for like 16 hours today. And so he said, I brought him some dinner and he's like, I think it's time to go back on. He's like, it's easier. So what you do, and we'll give you the instructions on this, but in a nutshell, it's actually easier. So for those of you, I think that this can also kind of blanket answer a bunch of other concerns that might come up. is that when you're busy and you're on the go, you're out and about, we say that in Canada, we're out and about, traveling or out in the field, out on the job site, you just make what's called a concentrate. So you make 1 part the maple syrup with the fresh squeezed lemon juice. So if it's half a cup and half a cup, you put it in a container, and the maple syrup helps to preserve the enzymes in the fresh lemon juice. And so it's essentially a concentrate. And so then you take that in a container, ideally that it's not in the sunlight and it's in a closed container. And then he can take that to his job site and then gets out of, the glass and then pours in, the right ratios, which will be on the sheet that'll be explained in very simple terms. And then he adds the cayenne pepper, adds the water, mixes it up, down the hatch it goes. And my dad said, he's like, this is easier. I didn't have to think about it. I felt better. It was less maintenance. It actually helped him because he was more efficient and productive. So it actually is, that because that's the perception. And then I would also say, in addition to that, from my experience being in the health and fitness industry for 18 to 20 years, that is the common perception with cleanses and detoxes, that, you're going to feel like crap and whatever. And you might go through that in the beginning, but I don't know that it's going to be as extreme. And so saying that just when you're traveling or he's out in the site, or anybody else that's working, for the most part, a lot of people are home right now, quarantined and lockdown or whatever. But if you're not, then great. But if you are, then it's good because you're at home. But even if you're not and you're busy, once you get into the groove and get used to it, you will find that it's actually easier, and it takes less energy to kind of put things together, and it's more efficient. So I just wanted to share that. So go ahead, Tom.
So, yeah, I've had doctors, firemen, policemen, lawyers, teachers, clerks, students, all walks of life do it. I remember I had a man who did it 40 days in a row, and he was worked for the city, and he was outside, worked outside, and it was in the springtime, and he did 40 days in a row and lost 40 pounds, which was not too much by any means. He looked much, much better after losing 40 pounds. I've had a couple of women. One woman was training for a triathlon, and she was drinking 24 to 26 glasses a day while training. And one other woman who was training for triathlon said she was doing 22 to 24 glasses of lemonade a day. So if you can be training for a triathlon, there's one woman who is doing 24 to 26 glasses a day. She said, if I can do this and train for a triathlon, anybody can do this. There's no reason why anybody in the world can't do this if I can do it. So there was also, if I don't have any of these serious illnesses, it says, how do I measure what's going on in my body? So the barometer for what's happening in your body when you're cleansing, when you go on the cleanse, what happens is generally your tongue will go white. It'll get furry and coated. That tells me, or your body, that's saying your body is eliminating toxins, breathing them out your mouth, and some of the plaque in your mouth is growing on that. As you get healthier and healthier, your tongue starts to go. So here's your tongue, kind of like this, and so along the edges, as you start to detoxify, it'll go pink. And then as you get more and more detoxified, the pink moves from the edges into the center of the tongue, into the back of the tongue. And when you're finally detoxified in your body, your tongue will be completely pink. But if you're brushing your tongue every day, that will not accurately depict what is going on in your body. You have to not brush your tongue. And I did 100 days in 1980, and it took it was into the 90s, somewhere in the 90s, that my tongue went pink. I used to drink a quart of milk a day. I ate meat 2 or 3 times a day. I thought was a healthy diet, but no, that wasn't a healthy diet. So that's why it took so long for me to detoxify. I wanted to look up, see what else is here. And pretty much, if you don't think you're sick, then do it as a preventative measure. Why wait till you get sick? Somebody was asking, can coffee enemas be used along with the cleanse? No, there's no need to doing coffee enemas. In fact, I don't recommend them at all. You drink your herbal laxative tea twice a day. If you want an enema, you drink a quart of sea salt water. It goes in one end and out the other. And that's an option. You don't have to do that, but you have to take a laxative twice a day to keep your bowels moving. Yes, Barney.
while you're on the coffee topic, somebody asked if I get horrendous, Michelle, I get horrendous headaches when I can't have my daily cup of coffee. Is there anything to counteract while doing the cleanse? And I would just say this. I would say two things before Tom's going to give you a specific. I'll just tell you from the in the trenches doing this, not the master cleanse experience, but I did it. I love coffee. I like to drink it and not overuse and abuse it. The native people call coffee empty fire, and that's why it's good to put some fat in with it if you do consume it. But my wife had a really hard time. She really struggled the first 2 days. You know, she was, in her own terms, she was practically useless. Okay, so I'm not saying that about my wife. That was what she said, because I said that, and somebody else, I can't believe you said that about your wife. But then me, I did it and I was fine. I was like, I didn't notice that big of a deal. So everybody is going to experience something different. But Tom has said before that there was a couple people during the cleanse, they didn't have what he's about to tell you. And he said, just go make like a little espresso shot or something, and you can take that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but if somebody's really struggling and they are having a hard time getting off of it, then you do that. But leading up to it, and this is another thing real quick before Tom shares this piece, is that this is where a lot of people really mess this up, is they don't properly prepare to go on and then to come off properly. People just, hey, coffee and alcohol today, living normal, eating normal, and then boom, the next day they jump on it. But we're on day one technically of the prep phase, and the goal is to start winding down your caffeine consumption, because what really gets people is when they go cold turkey and just shut it off completely. So it's good to start winding it down. So Tom, if you want to tell them specifically that other supplement.
Sure. So caffeine stresses your adrenal glands. And what I suggest that you do is take B5 or pantothenic acid, 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams a day, a minimum of 1,000 milligrams a day. And you break it up through the day, through 4 dosages. And so if you're drinking 3 cups of coffee a day, your first day, drink 2 cups of coffee and you take your 1,000 milligrams or more. The next day, cut back to 1 cup of coffee and continue with your 1,000 or more milligrams of pantothenic acid. The next day, drink a half a cup, continue with your pantothenic acid. And then when you go off, you generally won't feel any headache or heavy duty, withdrawal symptoms. So that typically works well. Somebody says, how can an 18-wheeler do the cleanse? Well, Peggy, here's a story. I have a woman who came in. She was 62 years of age. She was a trucker. Her uterus was hanging inverted from her vagina 6 inches when she came to see me. Can you help me? I went, yeah, I think so. Put her on the cleanse for 32 consecutive days doing treatments. She lived, it took her 4 hours to travel to me and 4 hours to travel back every day when she traveled to me 2 or 3 times a week. And on the 32nd day, her uterus was in place, staying in place. And the second thing she said was, well, she said 2 things. This is as good as I knew how to feel. I never knew how to get here. And that was the cleanse. And the second thing was, she said, now the oils really work. A year later, and she was a trucker, I ran into her. No, we didn't run into her, we met. And she said, my uterus is still in place. That was a year later. Now, I've had friends, people who have done it on the cleanse, or done the cleanse as a trucker. If you've got to have access to bathrooms, certainly, and if you're, hopefully you're driving the interstates, you've got them all mapped out. Okay, I'm going to be able to have to stop at this one and go periodically. Here's another story real quick. It was my wife at the time talked to this bus driver in the city I was living in. He went on the cleanse for 4 days and he lost 24 pounds on the cleanse, 24 pounds. He didn't lose, it wasn't so much fat, tissue. It was, he would drive 2 or 3 blocks, have to stop, find a bathroom somewhere, go to the bathroom, drive a few blocks out. He probably lost 20 pounds of crap is what it was. And can you imagine how much different that would feel? So, everybody, will have an excuse generally why they can or they can't. And sometimes it's just, making it so that it does work for you, just plan that you're going to make it easy. I had a dentist who said, how am I going to be working on people's mouths, and doing this, fine work, and I'm on the cleanse, and what if I'm not clear, or what if I'm tired, or what if I got brain fog or whatever. And as it turned out, her 1 week, it was actually the most intensive week she'd had in a couple of years while on the master cleanse. And guess what? Said it wasn't a problem. So.
And Tom,
Mm-hmm.
on that as well. So Peggy, just to clarify, now we'll get you on here in just a second, okay? Because she said she had some questions. So just to clarify, because I think she missed something and misunderstood something, which is really important. So she said, but how can they squeeze the lemons, like logistically? So I think to some degree there's the excuses or the uncertainty, but then there's also the other side, like the logistics. And I had that concern too. I'm thinking, how are you going to do this? I'm at home. It's cool. But to clarify what we're saying is, for the 18-wheeler, the trucker, the construction worker, Joe Blow, that's going to be, out for 16 hours. So what you do is you get a container and you make a concentrate that is going to be, let's just say, 1 cup of maple syrup, 1 cup of lemon juice. You take that concentrate, okay? Then they get in the truck, and then they have their water and they have the concentrate. So they're going to have to pull over. They can't mix it while they're driving. And I don't recommend that anyways. And they pull over and make their lemonade. So they mix it up and then put the 2 tablespoons of the concentrate in, or whatever the measurements are.
4 tablespoons.
So 4 tablespoons. And that goes in, and then you add your water, and then you add your cayenne pepper. So that's the part where you basically do your prep to make the concentrate. So they're not squeezing the lemons on the job site or in the truck. You make it the morning of, ideally, because Tom recommends that you don't make the concentrate and then let it sit for 2 days. You make it and you want to consume. So you want to measure it out and plan how much you're going to need. And we can go through all this later, but you make your concentrate to the point that it'll last you all day, but ideally no longer than 8 hours. But I mean, I was with traveling, and I know if they're just driving straight, they can't always just pull over, and time is money when you're trucking, especially with more mileage. But you can, when you have your stop, you can squeeze out a quick lemon quick. But I hope that helped, because I think that was missed.
Yeah, definitely. You can do the concentrate. I mean, I've done it myself. I'd have a backpack, and I just bring my, maple and lemon juice, a bottle of water, a plastic cup. I just pour it all together, mix it up, and drink it. I've done it, driving sometimes, but, usually you just pull over. I'll be somewhere and you just pull over and fill it up, and then you can drink while you're driving, and away you go. My teacher used to love to do the master cleanse while he traveled. He actually liked to do it. So there was, Norma asked about a parasite cleanse, and she said it did it during the full moon. Well, parasites revolt. When you try and kill them, they go, no, you're not going to do that. And what they then do is so parasites live in your body. They eat, and then what do? They eliminate. They crap in your body. They dump waste in your body that's poison to your body. In fact, they're neurotoxins. So when you're doing the master cleanse actually starves the parasites. They don't get enough to eat. They get very little. And if you're doing an anti-parasitic program at the same time, all they are getting is a poison. The other thing you can do is the color yellow is the color in color therapy that kills parasites and drives them out of the body. And then if you want to also take you can do, take antiparasitic herbs, as I said, and you can also use essential oils. And sort of the more bombs, in the sense that you throw at them, the more the less likely they can fight back all of those different attacks, because essential oils affect them in one way, and then water soluble herbs, which are toxic, in another way to them, and then color therapy energetically kills them. And then if they're you're just drinking lemonade, they're starving. And if you go on our page, the Master Cleanse Facebook page, you're going to see some stuff in there that's coming out of people's bodies. And like one person, it was like over 18 inches long. In fact, it's actually me in the toilet stretching it out, showing, and she's got her camera videoing it. It's a video.
Really,
And,
what Tom's doing, he's got the hand grenades and the bazooka and like the machine gun, the little army tanks, and they're blasting at the parasites. But yeah, it is very interesting, and to the degree you find it repulsive and revolting, it's more than likely that you have a lot of them in your body. um, so that was good, Tom. So Peggy, if you're still on, I know you said you had some questions and you wanted to said it'd be easier to unmute. So go ahead if you want to unmute yourself, and then there's a couple more questions that we'll do our best to get to as well. Okay.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
yeah, hi, Peggy.
Okay, so I want to get ready for the June 4th cleanse, but because I have hypoglycemia, and I got that after I went on a water fast for 10 days and was really sick with bad headaches and that. So now I'm always leery. If I don't get protein, a few little bits throughout the day, I get bad headaches. Well, first it starts with those cords on my neck getting tight, and then it goes into a headache, and then I break out into a cold sweat, and then I get really nauseated. So that's my concern. I have
Okay.
IBS, and I went on this cleanse. It was a detox tea about 3 years ago, and because of IBS, that stuff didn't give me hardly time enough. I didn't always make it to the bathroom. Sometimes there was a mess. And also, I have a lot of food allergies, so I'm hoping with this cleanse, it will clear up all these allergies. And do I need to wait until I'm off of the Master Cleanse before? I bought the cleansing trio back in December, January, because I was going to. I thought I heard someone say you could do both of those, but now from hearing you guys, it sounds like not. And if you can explain, I heard you talk about the smooth move, but I heard you say something about the tablets.
Okay,
So
so Peggy,
I just want to get all this stuff ready before we go.
okay, so Peggy, you got lots of stuff to sort of address there. So I've heard what you've said probably a few hundred times from a few hundred different people, and it's always the same thing. You just go on the Master Cleanse. Now, I've had people who are taking as many as 60 or 70 units of insulin. They're diabetics. They're not just hypoglycemic. And within 3 to 4 days, they're off their insulin completely and don't have to go back to it. So you went on a water fast. This is not a fast. This is a cleanse. The Master Cleanse is not it's not a starvation program. It's not starving your body. In fact, I believe you get better nutrition on the Master Cleanse than when you eat. Remember I said these two women were training for a triathlon? Do you realize how many thousands of calories you need, the kind of strength and endurance? So like this woman said, don't let anybody tell you for any reason that they can't do the Master Cleanse. If I can be in full training for a triathlon and do that and do it successfully. So, and it's not to say that you would go on the cleanse. You could go on the cleanse and not have a single symptom of nausea, headache, feeling bad. And I could have somebody who said, I had a friend who said, I'm as healthy as a horse. And he goes on the cleanse and in 6 hours he died. Well, not really, but he said he died. And he told me he was as healthy as a horse. So how can drinking lemonade for 6 hours nearly kill you, as he said? Well, it was 6 months later we were talking, and he said to me, you know, Tom, I can eat 6 chocolate bars a day and it doesn't affect me. I went, yeah, you couldn't drink 6 hours of lemonade and you died. Like, really? So the lemonade doesn't make you sick. The lemonade shows you where you are sick. It brings up your, I'm gonna be real blunt here, your shit. And this is what's poisoning you. So your pancreas, I know, is not functioning well. How you make it function well is you do the Master Cleanse. They did a study with maple syrup, found it to be anti-cancerous and anti-diabetic, amongst other things. There are compounds in maple syrup that are not found in the maple sap. And even in the production of maple syrup, these health beneficial compounds are formed. Now, I've had people who eat honey in particular, when they go on the cleanse, they'll turn ashen white and because their pancreas has been so damaged by eating honey. And the only thing that'll correct that is doing maple syrup that I've seen. In fact, Stanley Burroughs, when I spent time with him, he told me a doctor came to his place to prove to him that honey was safe. And he said this doctor went on the master cleanse, and after 5 days of using honey instead of maple syrup, he said this doctor got so sick, he had to actually change over to maple syrup. And after 10 days, he said he was back. He was now healthy again. I mean, his body was now working properly. He said he went out the door like a dog with his tail between his legs. He didn't even say goodbye because he felt so embarrassed. So when people, and probably 8 out of 10 people I talk to, no, maybe 9 out of 10 people I talk to are hypoglycemic to some extent. Your pancreas has been damaged from your lifestyle. And when you go on the master cleanse, your pancreas isn't going to be able to keep up. But you give it a few days and it will. What I recommend for people who are hypoglycemic, as most people are, you drink a glass of lemonade every hour on the hour. Don't wait till you get hungry. Just have another glass and keep your blood sugar level up. Allergies, when I work with people who have allergies, it's not what are you allergic to, it's who are you allergic to. It's a person, not a thing. And I think, Barney, did we not have a couple of people who had allergies, maybe, who said their allergies went away in one of the cleanses or something, I believe?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even for Jennifer too, like she's about to leave. So this is going to be the most profound minute of the entire call. Just kidding. But yeah, there was people that were really, sensitive or allergic or, to the cayenne pepper, and I think specifically, but other things, and then they come back and they were fine. Yeah.
Can I ask one last question about the essential oils that you mentioned? 3 of them are for parasites. Yeah. Can those be put into the lemon drink, or do you have to get those vegetable caplets?
You can put it into the drink, but whether you'll drink it is another question. You have to put it in capsules. Can you get those at a pharmacy in town here? Because I can't take time to order down to the States right now. Like, where do you live, Peggy? In Abbotsford, BC. Oh, well, the health food stores carry capsules. Oh. And what size? The tiniest 0.0 or? Well, I usually start people with tiny ones you can use, like I have people starting with about 9 or 10 drops with their capsules at first, and then they work up. Okay, so before we start this cleanse on the 4th, do you send us your instructions, what we need to get started? Yes, that comes as an email. Barney will, forwards that. Yeah. And then when we're on the calls and stuff, like tomorrow we'll be on another call at noon our time here, Peggy, because we're on the West Coast. And I will talk through this again. I talked through it already once today, but I talk through it again because some people who weren't on the call today will be on the call tomorrow. So I will go through all of these details because I want everybody to be successful. And the only way you're going to be successful is if you've got the proper instructions and you understand the how and why you're following this instructions. Like if it doesn't, it's not like I'm going to say, well, you're going to have to jump through fire first to do this. No, it's not like, oh no, you have to give up your belief in gravity. No, all of this is just common sense. And it's once How do you do that color therapy then? Pardon me? How do you do that color therapy? I actually sell lights or color lights for doing color therapy where you shine colored light on your body for healing. And I talk about that as well. You use essential oils, Peggy? Yeah. So the only way an essential oil works is that when your body metabolizes it or burns it, those oils release frequencies of light. They actually just release color in your body, and that's how they work. Right. And, and I can talk about that. I talk about that as well to explain how color works. It's based on science, on the science of spectroscopy. And Barney there has something to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Peggy, I'm willing to bet that you are a wonderful green
It's
personality.
22 hours.
So good on you.
No, you know what? I've tried this twice and I chicken out after 2 days. I think I'm suffering so bad because I get cravings or I can't stop thinking about food. And I don't want to set myself up. I don't have a lot of backbone, so I've got to develop this. And that's why I thought, you know what, I'd join your group of your Facebook, and
Yeah.
after I move, I need that support because I don't want to quit on me again.
Well, that you won't, because we're here, and I can guarantee you with my coaching experience, and Tom, you have over 60 years of professional coaching experience, and I can tell you, but saying it very humbly, that the people that have done it before, that are in the group, have tried it before and they did it and it was okay, and then they're like, wow, it's like literally completely different, because you have the support when you're freaking out or like, oh my gosh, what about this? You post in the group, you get on the call, Tom will help you. You can, Tom's very accommodating if you need some extra additional help. But in short, the reason I want to say that, I was trying to be funny. Sometimes it backfires, but saying if you were a green personality, just because you want to get the details. So in a nutshell, I also wanted to clarify in preface to answering this in response to what Tom said, is that there are things that he's talking about in regards to, like, the pantothenic acid and some of the other components that are like adjuncts that you will go through the first cleanse and you'll kind of find out. But there was the last two groups, sometimes people were getting on the first call and then Tom was going over some of the stuff and people were freaking out like, oh my gosh, like I don't have the pantothenic acid, I don't have the silica gel, I don't have this, I don't have that. And those are really beneficial for sure. But correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but the first time through, it's really good. If you think that you're going to be worried, then get them. But it is at its core, just the lemon juice, the maple syrup, the cayenne pepper, and water that you're going to need during the cleanse. And then there are other things that are complementary, as Tom refers to them as like adjuncts to help enhance your experience, that can help you get through that transition phase of feeling uncertain.
Yeah, if I can say, so Stanley Burroughs had a threefold system. It was the Master Cleanse, Color Therapy, and VitaFlex. A physical therapy, VitaFlex is similar to reflexology, just far more effective and much more comprehensive. Color therapy is a shining or application of light on the body for healing. And in the Master Cleanse is a dietary program. So I was going to ask Jennifer, are you in any kind of pain at the moment?
How did you know?
Okay, so where's your pain?
It's back here because I work on the computer all the time, and I think it's just my situation that I'm in, and I'm probably straining a lot of muscles, but I have a ton of major neck pain and have had it for 15 years that I've been married.
Okay, so
You didn't hear that though.
maybe we'll demonstrate right here. Okay, so I'm going to do some VitaFlex for you. Are you open to that?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so what I do is when I work with people, and as I say, if you find it effective, you can just donate whatever you feel is comfortable. And it's been working actually fairly well for people. So I'm going to do just some VitaFlex. I just want to, hold on here. Can you move your camera down so I can see just a little more of you? It doesn't have to be a whole lot. Because what I do is it's called fourth dimensional VitaFlex, and it's just me imagining I'm working on you. So you've got one leg longer than the other, and it's, I'm not sure. Is it your right leg is shorter than, is it your left leg that's long?
I'm not sure actually.
It's not that your hips have it's not your legs have a different length. Your hips are one way or another. And when people hem their pants, they'll see that, oh, it's on one side, it's a half an inch longer than the other. And it's because your hips are like this or like this.
I've been to a chiropractor recently, and he did say that one of my hips is higher than the other. Which one did you say you thought it was?
It was probably, well, so here, answer a question for me. You're going to
I'm noticing by my shoulders.
Yeah. So you go to IKEA and you buy something to put together.
Suck your gun in your own video. Sorry.
So you buy your box from IKEA. Do you bring it home and tear it apart and start working on it right away?
No.
Oh, so you let it sit around for 3 weeks and then you open it up and
Well,
go.
no, I read the instructions. I'm a
Well,
green
okay.
personality.
Okay, so then you have a short right leg then. Okay, so you're one
Okay.
of these. You want to go through it slowly. Where when people have a short left leg, they don't even look at the instructions. They just start taking it apart and start putting it together, and halfway through, then they look at the instructions. Okay,
Hmm. Okay.
so so if your pain level when I first started talking to you, was it from 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high? What was your pain level?
Mm, well, I've just dealt with it over the years for so long, so it's just always there, but probably an 8, 7, 8.
So what does it feel like now? Stand up and just walk around.
Everybody's gonna see me. Well, now I also did put on some lavender oil, and that usually helps with
Okay.
that, but I mean, I don't really feel the pain as much, but I don't know if it's from the lavender, but this stuff, I'm telling you what, it really works when I've got these kind of neck pains, but my neck doesn't feel as tight for some crazy reason as it did. It was really tight that I was trying to make it pop, and I don't feel like I really need to do that.
Oh, amen. Hallelujah. We have a healing.
I don't know if it's that or what, but
Well,
what did you do?
I did what's called an Atlas adjustment. So if
Okay.
you go to your chiropractor, so if your pain is completely gone tomorrow, which is very possible, or when your pain is gone, and you go see your chiropractor and he works on you, you'll call me up and say, could you do that again? Okay, this is what happens. People don't believe me. They don't trust me. They go to their chiropractor. The chiropractor works on them, and all their pain comes back. And then I say, well, now you have to pay again, because if I do something that helps you, and then you pay somebody to, undo what I've done, then you pay me again to undo what they've done. And
Right.
I don't really care. You can go to the chiropractor and do whatever you like. But so what I've done is a technique that realigns the top vertebra of the spine. I was told I needed fusions in 2 places in my neck. I was 24 years of age. I was demonstrated upon in front of the audience on January 7th, 1980. I've not been to a doctor since that day for anything. But I did 100 days of the Master Cleanse that year and have a color lamp and like we've been on the cleanse twice. I'm starting again on Saturday with a group, and good old Barney there, he's just continuing through. I'm impressed, Barney, good on you. And so then we're doing another one in June, and I'm going to do another 10 days. I try and do at least 3 or 4 a year. I like to do 4, and I have young children, and I just travel, and I've been not doing my usual, and so I don't get to exercise as much. I don't. I put on weight, so here I am with this opportunity. It's been a great opportunity because I'm at home. I am at home. I usually travel a lot, or I have people traveling here, and nobody can travel. So how does it feel now? I'm gonna do a little more work to just see what that
Cool.
does for you.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. The true sign will probably be tonight when I'm sleeping, because I have a hard time. I'm a stomach sleeper, and I have a hard time sleeping on my stomach because when I turn my head this way or this way, I go to a chiropractor that's an upper cervical one. So he adjusts my head in a way that it's working on the Atlas. But honestly, since I've been doing it, I don't think it's working.
Okay.
I'm almost in more pain. Not
So
pain, but
Jennifer, I've taught chiropractors. One chiropractor told me he could adjust the Atlas for 20 minutes, and one told me 90 minutes, and then it's gone. Mine was done January 7th, 1980, and it stayed in place till late August of 1988. And it was because I was flying through the air about 15 miles an hour over the top of my handlebars and hit the pavement. I had gloves on, not a helmet, but I had gloves on. And that's what put my Atlas out. And I had to just teach somebody how to do it for me and put it back into place. So I went almost 9 years without needing an Atlas adjustment.
wow.
And when people go to a chiropractor, and I've had person after person after person after person, they go to the chiropractor and they come back to me because all their pain came back that went away after they came to see me. So it'll be interesting. It's too bad because there's, how many people do we have on the group here? We've got 22 that people could tap into tomorrow and go, did that really work? Or was that just a bunch of noise coming out of his mouth? And I love a challenge. You know, because I would want people to call up and go, really? That real? Because we've had this happen several times in the group. In fact, Barney today, this woman, Heidi Moon, I treated her mother and her father. Her mother insisted on sending me $100 because her hip pain and she's been wearing a lift, I think, I can't look right now, but I think 30 or 40 years or something from her chiropractor. She threw her lift away. She's not wearing it. And she sent me a picture of her mother and her father, and I did just what I did with you. And so how is it feeling now there, Jennifer?
Sorry, I had to find my unmute button.
Okay.
It actually, I mean, I'm not kidding. It does. It is not. I mean, it's been tight all day, and it does not feel tight. And like I said, I'm hopeful that it was you, but I don't know if it was my
hopeful. Oh my God. Oh my.
We can't, burst your head too wide.
Well, no, I can teach this to anybody. It's all I want, you can heal just about anything and everything. It's just a desire. And it's like, I've had people get up and walk out of a wheelchair in front of an audience. I've had people who've limped for 20 years get up and walk without a limp. I've had people are in so much pain they can barely function. In 1 to 2. Gary, you know who Gary Young is?
Me?
Yes.
Heck yeah. I met him.
So you know how Gary met me? We were at a training in Dallas, and he had been bench pressing 375 pounds and herniated or ruptured a disc. It's like his upper thoracic. It's like T6 or 7 or 8, 7 or 8.
T7.
T7, and he was in extreme pain. And I went up to Gary and I said, Gary, could I give you a VitaFlex treatment? And he knew who I was, but he said, sure. Like he said, I said, when? And he said, come up to the stage after today. I'm going to shut it down early today about 4, because he said his pain was so severe. So I gave him a treatment, and I said, Gary, what's your pain level? And he said, it's a 9. So when Gary says he has a 9, Jennifer, that's a 13 for you or me, okay? So I did the Atlas adjustment. I did the 2 points on his shoulders, and I said, Gary, stand up and walk. And he took a couple of steps, and I said, Gary, what's your pain level? And you know what he said? A 1.
Awesome.
There was a chiropractor waiting there to adjust his neck. And I had already told the chiropractor he was going to screw Gary up if he touched him. And I said, Ken, if he's not better in 2 minutes, and I wish I would have said 2 seconds because that's what I normally say. I said, if he's not better in 2 minutes, do whatever you like. And Gary stood up and went, it's a 1. And the next day in the morning, I walked up to him as he was walking into the ballroom, and I said, Gary, what's your pain level? He said, a 1. A week later, Young Living called me up and said, Tom, we want to hire you to come and teach the level 1 training for Gary. And I went, have you talked to Gary about this? And she said, yes, we have. In fact, Gary is the one who wants you to come and learn, wants to teach you to teach. And I said, okay, I'm in. And it's just that simple. I teach people this. Anybody can do this if you have a desire. But why I'm doing this is that there are people here on the call and they're going, oh, what if I have this thing and blah, blah, blah. I'm here. And I want to show people what this work can do. I don't have any special problems. I'm not unique. I'm not afraid to do anything, to treat anybody for anything, as long as they're willing to get in step with me, in alignment with me. And it's not just me. We got Gary, we got Barney there too. Barney's got his own approach, his own way of doing things. And, it doesn't matter whether you understand it or not, but if it works, it works.
Right.
You know, so maybe I just made you think that this worked. But if you get up tomorrow and I don't have any pain and it's gone for the next 10 years, who cares?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, sometimes you know what I do? Like you put some oils on. I put oils on you too, maybe. Maybe I put some helichrysum on you. Maybe a little balsam fir. We need some basil, I I do that as well. Oh my God, the guy's magic. it's it's called fourth dimensional Vitaflex.
Hmm.
You
Can
know,
you teach that to us? Is there a way we could learn that?
of course I can. Of course I can. But I get into that for all of this stuff. What you think you're going to get in this week, 2 week, program, you have no idea what you'll be stepping into. You will be amazed at how much information you get. For this $35, I give away the house. I give away the house. You get the car. You get the dog, the cat. You get Barney's 4 children. This is a giveaway that you can't get anywhere. My wife says, like, you could be charging $495 for this. Like, you could. When people see this, when there's 10,000 people in the group, then there's going to be 100,000, because there's nothing like this. And it's $35, and all you got to do is drink lemonade, and you can see how, like, I've been doing this for so long, and I hear so many excuses, and there's so many things, and I've heard it 1,000 times. I've heard it 10,000 times, and I can demonstrate and show people this, and yet they go, well, maybe another time. And there's only one time, and that's right now.
Yeah, it's totally I mean, the thing is, when we started this, Tom and I talked with this years ago. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I said this to him this way. I said, dude, like, this work is pretty amazing. It's pretty awesome. And we should do something like this, because I have a knack and an interest and a skill set in online marketing and education. And I'm just really inspired doing it. It's why I did the summit. Some of you might know me through the summit, and it totally distracted me from building my business. But my purpose and vision for my life goes way beyond just building my own team. In a weird kind of interesting way, I actually get more sense of fulfillment doing this, building my business, for sure. Another story for another day, but I still 100% with Young Living, with the product. So is Tom. And I think that the questions, really, really great questions. I think, as you can see, I've said this before and I'll say it again, but that I'm constantly amazed but never surprised at how simple the work is, but how complicated it can be by all the questions that come up. And that's where and why it's really important to have the support and the group. And from a pricing standpoint, I would agree with Tom. There is programs, or there are programs out there, fitness programs, detoxes and cleanses and powders and shakes and all that stuff that you have to buy and take these products, and people pay a couple $100 for them. But really, the hidden agenda of this whole thing is really just to serve people and inspire you to legitimately change your life. And see the pictures, like you saw, those pictures those are legit. Those are my pictures from, April the 6th to May 5th. If you saw it in the email, Rob Cohen, who Alex, I think, helped in some shape or form to the group, and Aaron Kaser to some degree. And he's lost like 18 pounds in 16 days, and he looks totally different. I put his picture in the email. And the thing is, from a building the business standpoint, I'll do this at some point down the road, but just share my insight as to how you can utilize and leverage the Master Cleanse to grow your business in Young Living. Because at the end of the day, the best way to teach health is to show people, so that your actions speak so loudly that they can't hear what you're saying. They're just like, oh my gosh, like, that person is completely radiating and has good posture and vitality on their mindset. And they're really, you just feel good. And you look at them and you're like, wow, they're totally radiating health and vitality. So I really, as we keep growing here, I'm going to help in the back end. Tom's obviously the expert and master in the Master Cleanse. And, it's really great. The whole group and the whole community is really awesome. And I think that the biggest thing that you need for just to be able to make the decision is just to decide to do it and move forward. It's not, you know, it's a very small investment. And to recap and summarize, because I don't think we did cover this, but in a nutshell, it's just one-time $35. There are other options after down the road, because Tom and I just decided, hey, this whole coronavirus thing's going on. Let's do something, you know, hey, let's do the master cleanse. And then he asked me for some help with the tech side. And I said, well, cool, let's do this. We're going to do it once. Let's just see how it goes. And the people in the group basically were like, hey, we want to do it again. We want to keep going. This is amazing. There's so many changes that happen, and that's why we're here now. I didn't plan on doing this a couple of weeks ago or moving in this direction. And I don't know if Tom did either, but I just say that because if I was you on this call, because the purpose of this call was really to give you the opportunity to get your questions answered. And from an oil standpoint, if I could also just add this as well, there is a lot of talk about the oils in the sense that, you know, your internal ingestion, and then of course topical and aromatic, of course. But using the oils, those are the main three that Tom talked about earlier: oregano, thyme, and leaves in the capsule to take to help get the grenades in there and start blasting the critters out. But Sandra Rausch just said to me the other day that she puts grapefruit, I think, or the 2 citrus oils that she puts in with her lemonade.
Yeah.
Tom, is that a thing? I don't know why I
yeah.
know that,
Like, you know, Leslie, my wife, sometimes she'll put a drop of grapefruit in the lemonade. It gives it a twist, you know, or a drop of lemon oil as well but I also, when people's issues came up, and then I, like working with you, Jennifer, I'll do this with people live on the call, and I will address their, you know, some of their issues, say, okay, what oils have you got? Here's what I want you to put on. So, you know, Jennifer, you need to use, when your right leg is short, you use either Motivation or Roman Chamomile. Makes you step up. We want to move forward, you know, not be so, oh, I got to, you know, follow all the instructions. Yeah, you know, follow the instructions and then move on it, you know, get onto it. But if you're short on your left leg, you use Acceptance. That's blocks feminine energy and stuff. So, you know, if people are, you know, depending on what's going on, I'll, you know, delve into a number of different oils, because, you know, oils, I love using essential oils. I just am so grateful that, you know, Gary brought real oils into the world, because when I would be around people, one of my friends would say, you know, because I lived in Toronto, and, you know, I'd have all these oils in my pocket. Are you just happy to meet me, or are those oils in your pocket? And I had oils, and they go, but they didn't work. They didn't do anything. They were just a waste of time and money. And then when I started using Young Living, it was like, wow, you know, it's like really doing the master cleanse, actually doing the master cleanse, not some modified, and I say bastardized version of this program. It's, you know, like everybody's got to have their twist on it and make it work better and whatever. And it's just like, please just do it the way, you know, it's like in its pure form. And that's, Gary's the same thing. Like, you don't have to adulterate the oils. You don't have to adapt them. You just get them in their pure form and use them that way, and they work for you. They, you know, I've seen, I treated this dentist I was telling you about when he was doing the cleanse. She had carpal tunnel syndrome. So carpal tunnel is the seeming injustices in life. Anyway, she goes on the cleanse for 10 days and her carpal tunnel is gone. I've had people with carpal tunnel, and I put lemongrass on, 3 or 4 drops, maybe 2 or 3 drops of lemongrass, 3 or 4 drops of balsam fir, and their carpal tunnel is gone. And guess what? In less than 2 seconds every time. Every time, you know, it's just like, wow, how simple is that, you know? Shingles, I had an outbreak of shingles. I put a drop of a Melissa on each spot, and within a second, it was gone. Like, it's gone in a second, you know? And I haven't had that now for probably 18 years. It's never come back. And so I put a drop on each spot twice in one day. So I'm big into the oils. Like, and you want your oils to work, you go on the master cleanse. Then you go, wow, these things are now like magic.
Yeah, I really think too that, I mean, what I observed when I went in, to be very frank, when I came in the first convention, I was like, wow, my understanding of the oils has grown so much from the worst, you know, when I've been using the oils for like 10 years, but building the business for about 6 years. But I mean, they always worked. I had just somebody that signed up the other week and they got their oils and they're like, oh my gosh, like these are unbelievable. Like they're very sensitive to a lot of different things and they work extremely well. And they're going to be going on the master cleanse. And I said, if you start using the oils and you go on the master cleanse, it's basically, in a nutshell, it helps to, you know, cleanse the body and give the body a greater ability to utilize what you put in. So then your body becomes more heightened. It's your awareness of what you eat and how you feel after the master cleanse, when you transition back onto solid food, completely changes, and in a good way. And then as well for the oils, you just get more bang for your buck. And it's just like driving your vehicle. And if you don't change your oil and you don't change your oil filter, you just keep pouring new oil in, the engine's not going to function well. And so when you're looking at using the oils, or when we continue to use them, your body uses them so much more. So I just want to mention that because there were some questions about that in regards to the oils. We'll go a little bit more into that, but just know that whatever you have on hand, there's nothing specific that you have to get for the oil specifically. Those ones are recommended, but you can just do the cleanse. The people that have been going through the cleanse and then now they get the oils and started adding them in, like Alex, who's on here, has added lavender to her lemonade, and thieves. So I had two other things I wanted to say, but Alex, since you're here and smiling, do you want to share real quick? Because you're on day 17 and your intention was to start and go on 10 days, but now you're on day 17. So do you want to take a minute and just share how you do?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am on day 17, like Barney said, and I feel incredible. I'm really proud of myself that I have stuck to it. I had lots of energy. My skin is better. My hair is softer. I do not have any inflammation, which has been a big thing for me. My neck has been out for a long time, but it was inflammation. And I'm learning a lot of really beautiful affirmations. And I have to say, for me, the reason that that is important is because my personal journey, I'm actually releasing pounds of pain. So, you know, things like when Tom says to say like an affirmation, like, I am wonderful. You know, I am moving forward in my life with grace and ease, effortlessly and easily, things like that. So for me, the weight loss is amazing, but really that emotional cleansing that I'm getting is a lot more impactful, I guess I can say. I'm not sure what the word is, but I really like that part a lot. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And I just thought,
You're welcome.
I just thought that if you guys are on here for the first time and, well, I almost muted Tom there, and thinking, hey, you're interested and want to learn, we didn't pay Alex to come on here and say that. I was joking earlier in the day, somebody in the first call, I said, I was on the Facebook call, one of them, and I said, there's $20. I'll send you the $20 through the Zoom call for the bribe, as a joke. And I said, that's about $2 American, the $20 Canadian, another joke, because it's not that bad. But so thank you, Alex. And I think what I was going to say was, basically in a nutshell. So the question, the goal was to be an hour, but this is typical Barney and Tom style, that if it's an hour, it's going to be at least an hour and a half. But judging by the fact that you're still on here, obviously there's something that you're still attracted to or interested in. So again, if there's any urgent questions or like pressing that you're like, I really wanted to get this answered, please put it in the group, in the chat there if you can. But just to summarize, I did put the link there for you that you can click on it. You just go to fullcircleholistichealth.com, which is my company name. Tom and I are working to get a new site set up so it's all in one place. But when you originally started, we're like, I have all the tech stuff in place and Tom has all the coaching experience. So that's why it's on that domain. And you just go to fullcircleholistichealth.com. And in a nutshell, it's just a one-time purchase, $35. You can get in the group. You get the Facebook group, access to the live coaching calls every day at 3 p.m. If you can't make it on, you can send in your question by posting it in the Facebook group. And then we'll do our best to answer it on the call. But if you can get on live, awesome. And if not, then you can catch the replay. And then, so you get access to the Facebook group. And then there are exactly 16 days where we do at least an hour to an hour and a half of the coaching calls. And so mathematically, if it was 16, that works out exactly to be 24. So there's 24 hours of coaching like this for $35. And then you can ask your questions in the group, and the group's really awesome. People are really growing and evolving through the cleanse. There's people that are just getting started. Like I think it was Steve that asked like obvious newbie question, but totally cool. The caveat that we like to share is there's no such thing as a silly question or a stupid question. Sometimes people are like, oh, this might be a stupid question. We're like, it's only stupid or silly if you know the answer and you ask it, or if you ask it twice. So that's just to make a little joke, the fact that if you have a question, somebody else probably has that question. And so it's great to ask it, and then you can put it in the group. And it's literally that simple. It's ideal and recommended to get the book. In fact, on that order form, you can buy Tom's book and you can get a signed copy for another, I think it's $25.
Yeah. And
then that's all there is to it. Now, if you're listening still, Peggy, I don't know if you're still on here, but you were wondering about getting started for June the 4th. And Margaret had also asked, you know, I can't start until Wednesday, or I'm not too sure. So you can just kind of take it all in. The purchase for the June 4th, class is on there on the order form. So you can purchase, and then you can just purchase and get started. And then you can get in it gives you the invitation to get into the Facebook group. You won't get on the coaching calls yet, because we try to keep the coaching calls, these Zoom calls, reserved, so that when you're on there and you've paid for the group cleanse, that we kind of reserve that bandwidth to be able to do our best to answer your questions. So there's not like, 200 or 300 people on one call. And then, so if you want to wait till June, you can, but there are people who, for Margaret and Peggy, if you want to wait until Wednesday, totally fine. We've had people that have joined, believe it or not, and they didn't plan on doing the cleanse. They just wanted to go through it the first time. And they're like, there's such an amazing bang for the buck that they just wanted to go through it and observe and prepare and plan. I'm willing to bet they were probably definitely green personalities, and they just wanted to kind of see and take it all in, and make sure they had everything all good and they could get ready. And then the second time they purchased, and then they did the cleanse. So for me, I'm like a ready, fire, aim type person. I'm like, jump in and just do it. But on the other hand, I think that it's just know that you can do that. You can join. And then Margaret, specifically, I'm saying this for you, is that you could then start day one on Wednesday. That's only 5 days after our start date. And then if you have questions, we can help you. So unless I missed anything there, Tom, but I think.
Somebody brought up about tooth pain from the cleanse, and we had somebody in the last group who had serious gum issues, and her gums have the swelling has gone down, and they've are growing back. Actually, who was that? Somebody brought that was in the last cleanse, right? I've worked with several people with dental issues who've had to have dental reconstruction, their jaw reduced in size and stuff, and go on the cleanse and not have a problem at all. It's as I said, I've had people who've had to have spend thousands of dollars for dental work and go on the cleanse. And or I actually, when I was on the cleanse my first time, I had I had 4 wisdom teeth extracted, and I was having 1 a week, so I had 2 taken out, and they just healed up so quickly that I was taking out the stitches out of my gums myself. Didn't take any antibiotics or painkillers because I didn't need it. And so I've treated many people with dental issues successfully. One woman needed a root canal, and after 24 days on the cleanse, went in to have the root canal, and they went, oh, we don't need it anymore. We don't need to do this anymore. They just filled it instead of getting a root canal. That saved her like $600 or $700. So then, that's the kind of stuff this can do. I've had a client here, and she put frankincense on her tooth multiple times a day, just frankincense. And she said, I went in and they didn't need to do a root canal, So
you send the backdated retroactive bill and say, okay, well, the savings from not having to do it, I'm going to send you the bill. That was another joke. That wasn't actually the case. So Stephen, if I can say this for you, to be transparent, totally cool. I am too. It's good to just share and just put it out there because there's no good's going to come from, sugarcoating it. But I used to smoke as well, back in my teenage years. And what did it for me was I went to the gym, and after leaving the gym, I went out and lit up a cigarette. My buddy's on the second level, and he banged on the window, and he was a really just really cut, really fit. And he's like, knocks on the window, he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, like this is silly." And I quit. But I would go back and I would go to parties and people would ask me for lighter and say, "Hey, Barney, you have a light?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't have a lighter? Like you always have one." I'm like, "Well, I always did." And I would then smoke periodically to remind myself how much I don't like it. But the four main addictors, caffeine, alcohol, coffee, and sugar, are stimulants that are used to help make up for unfulfilled needs, so to speak, and to help calm the nervous system. Because tobacco has been used in a lot of native healing ceremonies. When properly used, it can be very grounding and very healing. But when it becomes an issue, this is just my perspective on it. I know Tom has a slightly different perspective, but that it can have a lot of healing benefits. But the problem is that cigarettes, there's a percentage of it that has actual sugar in it. When you light it, it turns into formaldehyde in the body. And so tobacco, when used in its original state and used properly, it's not as bad as when you smoke a cigarette. But I will say this, Stephen, that coffee, alcohol, sugar, and the cigarettes, when you go through the cleanse, I think that is Roxanne still smoking, Tom?
She stopped. She was smoking marijuana. She stopped.
Right. She's since she was 15, and I think she's like for how long is that? Like 15 to 20 years or something?
She's she's in her 30s. I think her late 30s. I think like mid 30s.
So probably like
20 years.
20 years. Yeah. And so I think that just I would just say this. I give the encouragement, Stephen, is just to do it. And if you need to smoke from an ex-smoker to a smoker, I would say that just do it to the degree that you need to, but just know that your body will tell you and give you strong signs when you're ready to be done, because your body's going to change a lot on the Master Cleanse. And then you'll get to that point where you're like, you literally don't want it. Like I've been going through this, and I haven't mentioned this to Tom, but there's been times when we went off, I wanted to go back to certain things. My body's like, no way. At some point it was just this little push, and then it was the middle finger, and it was a little punch in the back of the shoulder. And then it was a big kick. My body is giving me signs saying, this is not, don't do this anymore. If you want to, here's the result, what's going to happen to your body. And it's self-regulating. So I think that just give yourself the opportunity. You can go through it. And I put the link on there. And put the link to it. So the fullcircleholistichealth.com/master cleanse. I think that we've pretty much got all the questions. And Stephen, 4 for 4. So I'll tell you, you can have a pretty big shift here from this. And I can almost, as long as you do the work, I can guarantee you that you're going to have a pretty life-changing, completely transforming experience. And if you didn't hear me say this before, but the native people would refer to coffee and also sugar, caffeine, and alcohol as empty fire, because it just goes in the body, winds the body up, and doesn't leave you with any nutrition. So think about that for a second, the metaphor of empty fire. You go up there, you put your hands, you're like, oh, it's nice and warm, but there's you put your hands through it and there's nothing there. And that's what it does to the body. And then it winds the body up, and then it just leaves you crash, but then you keep going back for more, because that's why people get addicted to it. But when you can get off of it, then you'll have Tom to help you with the mental, emotional things that will come up, and we can help you in the call.
My first wife was a smoker, and she quit smoking the first day she went on the cleanse and has never smoked since. I have people who get off of marijuana, off of alcohol. My teacher he worked a lot with people with addictions. And so he brought it into the AA for alcoholics. I had somebody a couple of years ago call me who was addicted to fentanyl. He said, I did the cleanse for 14 days and it was easy, went off of it without a problem. So it's not just, cigarettes are a tough one, but one of the things you can do, Barney, and I don't know if you know this, but clove oil, if you take just not a drop, but just a touch of clove oil and stick it to the back of your tongue, it reduces the craving for cigarettes. I just remember that now. So if your people stop their smoking and they're feeling like you're craving a little bit of clove oil. If you didn't have clove, you would use thieves. A touch of it at the back of your tongue, like that reduces that craving or that urge. So it
Yeah.
helps to break that physical addiction. And then, of
Yeah.
course, I talk a lot about the mental, emotional addiction and how to change that. So
Yeah, and I use toothpicks. I can tell this later because we're getting way over time here. But I use toothpicks actually because I realized that it was and this is when I was in 18, 19, 20, that I just realized that it was a habit. So I had to replace that habit with something else. So I would chew toothpicks and pretend I was smoking with a toothpick. And that's how I did it. So grade B maple syrup is the recommendation, which is dark and very dark. They've changed it a little bit, Raquel. So it depends on where you are. If you're in the States, we have just kind of it's been taking a couple weeks because we live in, as in myself, we're in Ontario, Canada, in the maple syrup capital of Canada, I believe, in southwestern Ontario, where a large portion of Canadian maple syrup is made. The French people in Quebec will have different things to say, but we in Ontario say it's the capital. But as a bit of a joke, but there's a farm, a lot of farms here where they just grow it. It's organic. I don't think there's any such thing as non-organic maple syrup because they just tap the maple trees. But there's this conservative Mennonite family. They make between 8 and 12,000 liters a year, and this stuff is like liquid gold. I've been trying to work with them on logistics because they don't have, I said, hey, can I email you the orders? And I'm like, no, they're Mennonites. They don't have fax. I have to either drive them. I'm physically going to print off the orders and drive it to them and then pick up and then going to ship them. So we're just working out the shipping on it as to how much it's going to be, just because this question has been coming up a lot, and this stuff, until you've tasted it, it's hard to explain how absolutely delicious it is. I don't know that I answered your question, Raquel, but you can get just Tom, in the situation that they couldn't find grade B. It's obviously better to use.
You can use any grade of maple syrup. Any grade will work.
But not Aunt Jemima grade. You
Yeah,
can't.
no, no, it has to be real maple syrup. Yeah. And if you go to Whole Foods, Trader Joe's has really good grade B maple syrup. Well, so in the United States, it's no longer grade B. In Canada, we had grade A, B, and C, and they quit that years ago, and they went to number 1 light, number 2 medium, and number 2 dark. But they're all maple syrup is grade A, and so they don't want somebody to think that grade B is a lower quality. It's just a later production. The lightest maple syrup is the first few days of sap that's running. And after it runs for 4 or 5 days, you get into a darker sap, and that's your grade, what used to be your grade B or your medium. And then after it's been running for a couple of weeks, it gets really dark, and that's your grade, what we would call in Canada grade C. And they would call it A, B, and C because, white sugar is white, and that's the best. So the lighter the maple syrup, the higher the grade. But actually, Stanley Burroughs would say the darker the maple syrup, the better the quality. So don't let A, B, or C, or determine what's good or what's not good. It's just, any grade of maple syrup will work, but the darker generally the better.
Yeah. So Jennifer, that answered your question. So typically darker the better. And I know Alex said Costco, which is another good source. The one thing I'll tell
buy
you,
it there.
What's that?
I buy it at Costco.
Yeah.
I've been using it for a few years, and it works. I use it. That's what I'm using on my cleanse right now.
Yeah. So it's good. So we're basically going to put it, I think that they said it's going to be in between 75 and $80 for 4 liters Canadian, which, I mean, when you convert that to American, it's a lot less. So I'm going to get the numbers and be able to get it out there for you. It's just another option for you. You could, of course, get it local, especially if you want to get going Saturday. There's no way. And Jennifer, there is no address per se, just because again, you can't call them up and say, hey, can you ship it to me? I mean, I guess technically you could. So what we're trying to do is just set it up so that you guys can order through the website that we're setting up, and then you can order it, and then we'll take care of the logistics for you to make it easier. Because as you can see, again, it's very simple: maple syrup, cayenne pepper, lemon juice, and water. But then there's all these other questions that come up. So you just want to make it easier for you to get going. And roughly, Margaret, about 3 to 4 liters is what's needed for 10 days. And Young Living does not have
maple syrup.
Yeah, it does not have maple syrup. So But yeah, so yeah, if you get your maple syrup now and you're ready to rock and roll, just out of curiosity, who was on the fence that now after this very short 1 hour and 45-minute call is now off the fence from I was uncertain and now I'm certain. I would love for you to put in the chat, just put I am certain. This is a good thing to put into your mind before bed. If you want to put in I am certain, meaning you're going to do this. And if not, there's no pressure, of course. We're just going to find out where you live and come and heckle you. I mean, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we just wanted to be here and answer some questions for you. But Tom, I think we're pretty much.
I got to run here. I haven't eaten supper yet.
Okay, we go get some supper. I think we answered pretty much all the questions. If anything was missed, you can email Tom. Is it okay to pass out to tom@vitagem.com?
tom@vitagem.com, yeah.
And if for those of you who are on the summit list, you can just reply back to the email that you received from us to go to the summit. Just be patient with our response time, because when we send out emails to 20 or 30,000 people, it gets a little overwhelming. But yeah, so I look forward to helping in with Tom. I try to stay behind the scenes here and share my experience, of course, as well, but help in the background. And if you get started, if you're not really sure and you're like, this sounds really awesome, but I want to get all my stuff and get it all set up, you can just still go there and purchase, and then you'll get an email there'll be a blue button in there saying I'd like to start on June the 4th. So you can just purchase now and then click that blue button, and we'll just put you on the waiting list for June the 4th, and then you can get ready to roll. And TNL, water wise, is just best to use a good filtered water so it's not too, I guess, over filtered, but tap water isn't recommended. Just try to use, Tom, I guess, what is your recommendation with water?
Well, if people get spring water, people sometimes think they should use distilled water. Distilled water is not a good option. Filtered water, if you use reverse osmosis water, you got to check its pH. You want a pH of at least 7 or a little higher.
The Berkey's good. You take your tap water and put it through the Berkey filter.
Yeah. And so just one real quick there. So Jennifer, how's the neck doing now? Is it still feeling better?
It is, but there's still some tightness, mainly down below, not so much as like up here, but it's more down below in the shoulder area.
I'll have to work in that area next, I guess.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, that's great, Tom. Thank you. And thanks, everybody. So right now, the question that you're probably wondering is saying, hey, this is awesome, but maybe if you're feeling a little underprepared, my recommendation is go into it, do the best that you can, and go through it, even if the first time, because, we're telling you this, but I mean, you have to go through it to experience it yourself. But the first time through, even if you only feel like you did 70 or 80% to perfection, so to speak, you're still going to get a lot of value for sure. But if you want to get more prepared, then there's June 4th and then the May 13th, which is right now. So we're in the 3 days. So today's Wednesday, and then Thursday prep, Friday prep, and then we start day 1 on Saturday. And then, but there are more dates being announced. Tom and I still have to discuss that, what the dates are going to be for the rest of the year. But the goal and the vision here in a nutshell is that the gold standard of moving forward after your first cleanse is not just a one and done, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It's something where it's best to embrace it, just like we do with chemical-free and toxin-free living with Young Living, using the oils and the products, is that the recommended gold standard from Tom is to do a 10-day master cleanse once a quarter. And so we're setting up a community to be able to support you so you can embrace that and put the master cleanse into your tool belt in addition to everything else that you have right now. And then, Jan, I think, pardon me, you did ask that too. The Wild Cleansing Trio, you don't need to have that for the master cleanse. That's a separate thing. Yeah. So I think we're good. Jennifer just said I'm going.
I've got to run here.
Okay,
Barney,
you go for it, Tom. Yep, you can hop off. Go for it.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Jennifer just said, I'm going to do the June 4th as I purchased a lemon squeezer and it won't come until 5/22. Well, what you can do is you can actually just don't go to the gym, because maybe you can't anyways, and just take the lemons and squeeze them with your own bare hands, and then the juice will just come right out and you'll be good to go. But all kidding aside, yeah, it's fine. So I don't know, Mary, I saw that you were on, I see that you're on here warming up with the blanket there. Did you have any questions? Because I saw that you were on the call last night. Did you have questions that didn't get answered by chance?
No, I think all my questions have been answered.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, perfect. I just saw you getting cozy there and I recognize your name from the call. So yeah, I think we're good, guys. So thanks for tuning in. And for those of you who are going to jump in, awesome. And if not, as I jokingly say, to try to keep things funny and exciting, which by the way, my money back guarantee always has been with training. And I've only given money back once in my entire professional training career, is that if I can't actually get you results or make you smile at least once in our training sessions, then I have to give your money back. And even if I have to do it at my own cost by making dry jokes to make you smile and laugh, but laughter mixed with education makes for a good learning experience. So there is some method to my madness. But what I'm saying here as I wrap up, if you think we did a great job, let our bosses know and we might get a raise. And if not, then just keep your opinions to yourself. Okay, so have a great night. Stay blessed, stay grateful, stay humble. And I usually say stay hungry, but then in the Master Cleanse, we say stay thirsty. And have a good night, guys. And we'll be in touch if you want to jump on and join us. And if not, then thanks for tuning in and we'll see you guys in the future. Okay.